What's up, you guys? My name is David and this is Old School Garage. So it's been a long time since I've posted a video, and I lost my old video on YouTube due to YouTube restrictions and all kind of stuff that came out in the past. Anyway, we lost Realistically Swapped video, but this is going to be the upgraded video, and it's going to give you more detail on how to swap your lt1 into your muscle car. Now this is a 79 Trans Am that I've been working on for about 2.5 years. And we come a long ways, and this summer of 2020 has been the pinnacle for this car getting on its feet. So let's get this new video on Realistically Swap Your LT1, and I'll show you what I've done. Okay, this LT1 come out of a 95 Caprice, a 95 Cadillac Fleetwood, and it was very easy taking it out and very challenging to put in with the offset motor mounts, which that was on my motor. Some of y'all motors won't have that, but mine had an offset motor mount. So before you put your engine into your muscle car, make sure that your motor mounts are in line, and if they are offset, you have to compensate. So that was the first biggest issue of putting this engine into. Of course, once you get your engine bolted in along with your transmission, the only thing for the transmission you're going to have is a motor mount you have to custom, and shorten your drive shaft, which I did. Okay, the drive shaft is shortened about 3.5 inches, not much, but yes, I did have to cut and put it on my lathe and shorten it. There's other ways to do it. There's videos out there, just check it out. Okay, now you'll see a whole bunch of wires cut in here and shrink wrapped off. Now I still have to take these up. Okay, this was a delete from the ABS brake system. So this right here, you can just weld, or you can put some headers on. Right now we're going to weld them. Of course, that's why it's called a budget, right? We're not trying to put a whole bunch of stuff in here. So let's focus on, after you get your motor in, what you have to do, okay? This motor comes with, when you take this motor out of the car, you're going to take it along with the wire and harness, okay? Now I'm going to follow back this wire and harness. The way I did it, I followed it back, and I went through the firewall, and I fabricated a little bracket to hold that in place with the rubber grommet around it so it don't cut into this harness. And I've put, what this does, this harness goes back to a fuse panel, which you can see down in there. Okay, now I didn't want to put this under the hood because it just would look too out the place for this car, and so I just put it under the dash. Yeah, it might be a bitch in the long run for me to get a hold to, but I have no problems lately. So once we got that installed, the next biggest thing was getting fuel to this thing so we can see if it starts. So of course I had to go get me a whole fuel injection system, which is a brand new. You can see that at the tank with the EFI system, and I just put, if you can see that down there, braided lines in there, which we're going to talk about later. But let's talk about what happened. We got the tank with the fuel injection run through the lines, and it comes and it goes into the motor here. Okay, there's connections and stuff. You just got to do your research to see what fits into these 5/16 and 1/4 inch lines. Okay, so now we got gas to the car. Well, we got it piped in and plumbed along with the fuse panel. So the next thing was putting power to it. So what I did, I just left the harness connected. Just wait, you'll see what I'm talking about. These wires, don't undo that. Now what I did, I left these connected, bolted them to some 1/0, and I just, in here is a little fixture here, there's a connector there, and just like this, okay, and it's run through the car, which I rubber grommeted and I sealed, and it runs all through the car to the battery. Okay, the battery's in the back of the car. There you go, plain and simple, right? Connect that while we're here. Okay, now once we had all that in line, now we need to ignite things up with fuel, for the most part, and the starter. Okay, the starter wire is very simple. All you gotta do is get your ignition cluster in your muscle car, find the ignition cluster in your muscle car, run it back to the ignition wire into your main wiring harness from your lt1, which in my case was this one. Run it onto from the switch to the starter, and you get your power. And once you got your power, she turns on. Sorry guys, lost on the video. So once you got your power to the ignition, she'll turn over, but she won't start. That's because you don't have no gas, right? So what I did, I went to painless, and I totally bypassed the fuel injection in the wiring harness, because it would cost me too much time to get things going and figuring things out. So I just got the painless, okay, hooked it into my fuel and hooked it into the ignition key source through the relay. So when you turn the key on, it relays, and the you know, the fuel pump comes off, and you turn the key off, the fuel pump goes off. Okay, goes on and off with the key. All right, just like it would on any other car. And she runs. Okay, so we got her running. I'm gonna crank her up and show you that she does run. All right. Okay, she does run. Now, this is the big problem that a lot of you folks are going to have, and you have to be careful of this part. When I got mine running, it would only run for 3 or 4 seconds and shut off. So I timed that sequence, and it was always 3 or 4 seconds, like it was just, there was something killing it. So I found out that the VAT wires for this thing was, the security system was turning the motor off for some reason. I didn't know why, but I found out that in this area, not far from the fuse box, I found the wires that I've tapped into, and there's 5 wires, I believe. They're small, and with the key off, and if you test those wires with the key off, I think they're all gonna have a small amount of voltage on it. I wish before I taped them up, I knew the color of the wires, but they're 5 wires, they're little bitty wires, and I just twisted them all together, and that deleted the VATs. So now the car runs all the time. So if you're having that problem, just take your time and go into the harness, and you'll see those 5 wires that's in a cluster. Cut them, tape or wire them together, and your car will run. Okay, so that's a hack for the VAT system. All right, now that we got that out the way, the last 2 things that was a pain in my ass to figure out was, once you figure it out, it's easy, but was the alternator. Okay, now you can buy the plug, it's painless, like $25 plug. That gives the plug's going to give a hot wire to goes directed to the back to the alternator, and you're going to have another wire that you can see here with a resistor that I've wired in. Okay, and this wire goes back to the switch, an ignition switch on and ignition switch off. This goes into the white wire here. That's what's going to make your alternator work. Without this, your alternator is not going to work unless you go and figure out in the wiring harness how to make this work. Good luck. I tried that. It's a pain in the ass, but I'm sure there's somebody that done it, and I'd rather not going through it. I just did the swap to this plug, okay, and it works. Yeah, I gotta hide these wires, and that's not the fact right now. The fact is the budget. I'm just trying to get my muscle car running, right? I mean, I can do like all them other big ass companies and build this car with $100,000, but that's not the plan. Okay, now once we got that, the last thing was getting our fan to kick on. Very simple. There's a relay that mounts here that I bought from Painless again. Wired it like they told me to wire it. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail. And a thermal switch kicks it on. You can see here. So this is a 200 kick on, 185 shut off, and it works like a champion. Other than small things left for this car can drive. All right, there's not much more to do to this car. Drivable. It has brakes, it runs, it's got gas. Other than a throttle cable I gotta hook up. I'm gonna go to Jegs and buy one. This car runs like a charm. Alright folks, that's it for the Realistically Swap Your LT1 for now. Any questions, please like and subscribe. We're gonna have more videos to do with this car. What we have next is gonna be body work, door hanging, you know, mostly cosmetics, but right now we got her standing alone on her own system running. And if you want to know what I did to the car with suspension and everything, just please ask in the comments and I'll tell you what I've done to get this car going. Okay guys, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.